Welcome from Safira and Ventura Gallery in Midtown Manhattan. It was established in 2014, specializing in modern contemporary art, design, and architecture. And the gallery promotes and exhibits cutting-edge artists of today and also pieces by timeless masters, including George O'Keeffe, Frida Kahlo, Keith Haring, and Salvador Dali. If it weren't the pandemic times, what they do is put on group shows, solo exhibitions. They take the artists out to internationally acclaimed art fairs and special events. But alas, it is the time of the pandemic, and we are now talking about painting in the pandemic. So we are dedicated to expanding the possibilities of all our international artists and provide a wide selection for the buyers here. One of those great international artists that we're presenting today is Neil Kerman, who's known as the abstract chemist, and we will be speaking about both art, abstract art, times of the pandemic and how to be an artist, and also Alzheimer's disease, which is an issue very close to Neil Kerman. And we're gonna get started. Welcome, Neil Kerman.
Hi there, Abe. Thanks for having me, and thanks for Safira Ventura having me.
Sure. By the way, I'm sitting in Safira Gallery. The room behind me is full of Neil Kerman's paintings, but we're going to see a whole bunch of those, aside from what we can see here at 5th and 43rd, right in Midtown Manhattan.
Abe, move your head. Let them see the gallery pictures for a minute.
Okay, there you go.
Very nice, thank you. Go ahead.
An entire room full of Neil Kerman paintings. So, and by the way, everybody's invited to come up here if you can. If you aren't worried about COVID, they're open every day. So let me ask you, since this is what people are worried about and want to know about, you're an artist, you work a lot, you do these beautiful abstracts in so many different sizes and shapes. Have you been painting in the pandemic?
Yes, I have been. I've been painting for individual decorators and architects that want for their spaces. Our gallery has been closed like most businesses around the world and in America.
Okay, now the pandemic, which is COVID-19, Corona, whatever you want to call it, has it changed your mood in general or your style? Has it changed your lifestyle in general?
Well, in regards to the lifestyle, definitely. We sat in quarantine for 4 months. It's not very easy just being in one space and having family, all having individual needs like we hear around the country. The moods have changed. It's not always happy-go-lucky. Sometimes a seriousness comes in. You're reading all the deaths, all the illnesses, and that can be very sad and depressing. And in regards to painting, I think it has affected some of the colors that I tend to use. Where I use more vibrant colors and exciting colors, I think some of my paintings have been a bit more subdued.
Understood in these times. Are you buying your art supplies now totally online, or do you have any stores that are open to you?
Well, some stores just opened up, Blick, but otherwise we have been buying on Amazon. You tend to spend a lot more money that way. You just press a button and you don't have to do anything else, and they deliver right to the house. But since Blick has opened, I like to give the business to those individuals that are working hard, keep their jobs going, and
no, I buy also. dickblick.com is great, and they have a lot of great sales, and they ship it right to your house. So what could be better than that? But you're right. If it's just another number, you just buy too much sometimes. So let's ask you, are you in touch with other artists right now during the pandemic? Do you speak to other artists at all?
I do speak to other artists around the world. Very little about what we're painting and what we're doing, but just how individually we're surviving during the pandemic. It's really very interesting. In different countries, each one is at a different place at a different time. Sure. So one country might be quarantined, another country might not be. They open up, the next country closes down. So we're all talking about how we're surviving, how individual sales, shows have been canceled, when we all meet in different countries.
Has your art ever been published in the art magazines throughout the world?
Yes, in Brazil, in France, in Architectural Digest, in the Paris Architectural Digest, in the American Architectural Digest, and many individual publications.
Could we
It's
show
pretty.
that?
Got what?
There it is. There it is.
These are some of the pictures. I don't know exactly which magazine each one, but this is one of the magazine pictures that appeared in the magazine. I think you have a few more. This is our art sticks. It's something that I created about 1.5 years ago. And I really created them for an individual space for people that live in small homes or apartments. And what tended to happen, people are buying 5, 6, or 7 and creating designs on their individual walls.
I heard you had like 6 art sticks at a New York show about 2-3 years ago, and the first day you sold them all out. Is that true?
I think we sold the 6 of them. It was 5 or 6 that we did sell.
So they're great for like Manhattan spaces. If you have all these tiny little 400 square foot apartments, you just put one up here, or you can put it anywhere you wanted. They're amazing. Yeah.
Thank you.
So are you selling now primarily on the internet because of COVID?
We're selling on the internet, but decorators and architects and individual consumers are seeing our product or my art online, and they're contacting us. And they're telling us what they'd like. We do a lot of custom pieces. Decorators tell me what colors they would like in their art, and that's how we're doing it now.
Spaces. So you used to be able to probably go to the people's houses or offices, and you just have to do it kind of like on spec and what they tell you today.
It's like the rest of the world. Everyone's on Zoom. You go to weddings on Zooms. You go to functions on Zooms, or your meetings are on Zoom.
It's true. Except we're not on Zoom. We're on StreamYard right now. Which
okay, it's a good place to be.
It's all good, but we're doing a live show from YouTube and from Facebook, and a lot of people are watching it. Do you miss the shows? Do you miss going to shows and meeting the people, other artists and buyers and collectors?
Definitely. When you travel around the world, you meet such interesting artists. It's nice that other artists come over to you and appreciate your work as I appreciate their work, and we share some techniques. We share any new products that might come out on the market. We discuss techniques a lot, and we have a good time. We have a drink and sit around and party a little bit.
It's fantastic. Where are you sitting right now, if I can ask?
Right now, in my in my Brooklyn gallery, and we call it the Neil Kerman Gallery, and I don't know which way to turn. It's there, and we could take you on a little tour if you want.
Tour. We were dying to see it.
Okay, so Israel is going to go around the camera. You have feedback.
Nice.
I'm not speaking so much because of the feedback we're getting.
Tell us what we're looking at, like right now. What kind of a
okay, stop, Israel, stop for a minute. This is a creation that it's my painting that we put on 3-dimensional metallic triangles. And if you go in any direction, the colors change. Okay, Israel, walk a little bit, Israel. And over here, we have this over here. I was invited to Israel, actually, to paint 3-dimensional art. And this is one of the art, and they tend to sell them in Chicago and San Francisco. And this was my first attempt at it. It was quite challenging, being that I usually paint on a flat canvas, but they sold out very well. It's supposedly a dog. Here we have again the art sticks, which I introduced for the first time in London. And here we just have more pictures, colorful pictures. It's a nice space, the gallery, actually beautiful. There is a wall piece of art that I did in Israel. And Israel is now taking you through the gallery. That's our window.
Gorgeous.
And we have art in all different sizes for someone's budget or for someone's space. And as he continues around, this is the gallery. I also do 2, 3, or 4 pieces connected together as people do request or what people would like. My largest painting was 40 feet long.
Wow.
And this is what the gallery is.
Wow. So when did you start painting? I mean, you're obviously you were a nursing home operator. You were a person that dealt with therapy and other things. When did you transition into painting altogether?
I started painting about 6, 7 years ago. I bought a nursing home and it had an empty wall and I didn't want to just put on any picture. So I went out and bought 40 feet of canvas and painted a picture. People liked it. I did it again. And before I knew it, a family member contacted, I believe, you, Abe Schoenberg, who put me in touch with Sofia Ventura. They flew me to Paris, to Ibiza, Spain, and from there I've been traveling around the world.
You know, a lot of people, when they start painting, Neil, they start painting like 12 by 16 inches, not 40 feet. So I don't know how you jump right into a 40-foot canvas to cover up a giant wall in the nursing home. It's amazing.
Well, if you're cooking a dinner, you're going to cook a large dinner, you're going to cook a little meatball. You know, you just got to do what you have to do.
I'd rather cook for 1 or 2. It's a lot easier. But wow, you've got. I was just going to ask you. I saw the dog there in your place right behind you. What other sculptures have you made? Of what other objects?
I believe you have some pictures there. We have some heart. Oh, this is a paintbrush that we did. It was a tremendous success. It sold out immediately. And then I think you do have a few more pictures. That is Gesso. It is supposedly a dog. It took me a while to accept that concept, but we painted 12 of those. And then these were, you have a heart and different heart shape themes. And
those are apples with honey dripping, is that what that is?
Yes, they were doing it for the Jewish holiday, apples with honey dripping, but they didn't want red apple and they didn't want yellow honey, so they wanted something very colorful, which I did. And the center one is a heart I also created. And I spent 3 weeks. They set me up in Tel Aviv in a gallery, and it was a tremendous success and an amazing learning experience.
Good. So I heard you had a famous uncle, Jack Adler. Could you tell us something about him, if he inspired you in any way?
Yeah, my uncle Jack was an artist. He was a photographer, and he worked for DC Comics, I think, in the late 30s. And he used to paint all the Superman, Batman comic book covers. Wow. And as a boy, later on in the 60s, he used to take me up there, and he taught me the process of how to put colors. For example, if you had 6 cardboards, and each cardboard was painted a different color. So you had 1 yellow, 1 blue, 1 red, and then they merged them together to give you your pixels for your colors in the comic books. And he used to take me out all the time to paint, to color with him. And he was with DC Comics for about 40, 50 years. And then he became an executive at Warner Brothers because Warner Brothers took over DC Comics. Right.
I remember as a kid reading Batman and Superman, and it said colorist Jack Adler. Is that the same guy?
That's the same guy. And I was very popular in camp because hundreds of comic books came every summer.
Yeah, we had no internet. We had no, it was 3 television stations. Comic books were it. Great.
Well, without the internet, we couldn't do this interview, so we're lucky.
True. So let's talk about Alzheimer's, because I know that's an issue that's very close to your heart. We want to find out why it's close to your heart and how you fuse art and Alzheimer's. Tell us what you do. Well,
I've been in the nursing home business for 48 years. And when I first started in 1972, we didn't call it Alzheimer's. We called it senility, organic brain syndrome, ASHD, and then it became dementia, Alzheimer's. So early in the 70s, I used to work art programs with the residents to see if I could elicit responses from them. Now, Alzheimer's have many different stages. You have low functioning, medium functioning, high functioning, and I attempted to work with all the stages to see what responses I could get. It's only one of the mediums. You can do it through music, you can do it through baking. But as the years went on, I started lecturing on Alzheimer's, and I was invited to the United Nations to do a solo show on Alzheimer's and art. I traveled.
I believe of you working with senior citizens and the elderly and Alzheimer patients, and also with the UN. Could we see some of those?
Okay, if
they put it here, you are in front of the UN.
Here I am in front of the UN, and that was pretty exciting to be invited to do a solo show there. And wow. Here is my paintings, and each painting tells the story of a different patient or different resident of what they went through. I don't think I have it there, but I do have an amazing painting called A Steel Veil, where my father went into Alzheimer's. He came out of it for a couple of weeks. He told me like he was trapped in a steel veil. And if he ever went back into it, never ask him a question because it confused his mind. And 6 weeks later, I lost him again to Alzheimer's, and I have a painting of him, which people want to buy, but I've had a hard time parting with. And here I am lecturing in the UN to ambassadors and guests.
Well, I was at that show. It was an amazing show. You had about 30, 35 paintings of the various stages of Alzheimer's. And it's right. You see the clarity, and then you see little by little how the brain gets closed down by it. It's an amazing series of paintings. Are those for sale, those paintings, or you're never going to sell them?
They're all for sale. People are interested in them. I've been in touch with the Alzheimer's community. They asked me, the Alzheimer's organizations, they asked me to work with them. And I set up a program in Sao Paulo, Brazil, with the community where we go into nursing homes and work with the patients. I train the staff, and that's one of them. And what they're doing during the COVID-19 pandemic is they're taking some of the art to the individuals in the house. These are great pictures. I let the patients or the people paint me.
It's wonderful. Nice face painting.
Yeah, it's
body painting. It's all good, you know. But
with clothing.
Do you see them come alive? I mean, these Alzheimer patients, when you start helping them paint, they just start reflecting back on when their brain was clearer.
Totally, and sometimes the programs, the nursing homes, haven't seen responses that they get from out of the patients in these painting programs. But I just want to make it clear, painting does not cure Alzheimer's, and it doesn't help all Alzheimer's patients. Someone that's very deep into it, you might not get any responses. So I might get the medium functioning Alzheimer's patients or the higher functioning Alzheimer's patients, but I also do work with lower functioning patients.
Well, that's amazing work. It really is. Continue doing that. You are compared as an abstract artist, and there's very few great ones, but to two people who are no longer with us, but they sell very well at auction, and that's Sam Francis with his energetic, bubbly style. That's on the upper left, and Paul Jenkins is on the lower right, as far as I could see from here. And you're very much compared to that. You want to comment? Do you think your paintings look a little bit like them? And they go for huge money, Neil. And when I see you at auction, you're right situated right next to them. It's amazing.
Well, first, let me get it straight. Did I hear you right? I'm compared to them. They're compared to my works. They're comparing it to my works. I don't think I reached the Paul Jenkins, Francis, what they're getting from it, but people do express that some of my works do represent those artists. That's correct.
That's beautiful. Let's talk about the stamp. You were in Sao Paulo, and I think the country of Brazil gave you, for your work on Alzheimer's, your own stamp with your own painting on the stamp. That happens very rarely. Wow, there it is. Your own Neil Kerman stamp with your painting on it, which is a legitimate stamp in Brazil. Amazing. So could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, quite often I've been lecturing in Rio de Janeiro and Sao Paulo, and on Alzheimer's. I've been lecturing to doctors, I've been lecturing to healthcare workers, I've been lecturing to families, and the Postal Service of Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, invited me because they created a stamp with one of my paintings on it representing there I'm receiving the stamp.
Wow.
Because of my work on Alzheimer's and what I try to do or attempt to do with my art and the Alzheimer's patient.
Amazing. Well, very few artists have that in their background. Let's talk about your actual process, and I'm sure that they're going to show the process that they went there to film you, I believe, in the morning. But you go from like total energy, total movement to a calmness which you can't even create. It's like you're in outer space floating or underwater. You feel like a fish that's just standing there. And then boom, it's like a mountain is exploding or something's happening in outer space. How do you paint so wildly to so calmly? And how do you know when to paint one and when to paint the other?
I think that happens to all daydreamers. When I sat in school, I was always daydreaming, doodling, looking out the window. It's not how do I know when to paint that, it's actually what your mood is. How do you feel? When I go into my studio, I don't go in with a concept of what I'm going to do. I look at all the colors and I'll feel what color I might want to start with. It could be yellow. For example, when they were videoing me today, I just took a group of paintings. I said, it really doesn't matter what colors you're using. It's what you feel and how you can express yourself. And some days, especially in the COVID, there's a calmness, there's a quietness, and some days there's just an energy that's absolutely great. And that's what I try to instill when I work with the Alzheimer's patient. Colors, I let them pick their own colors, and it just evolves.
Now you work in acrylics, right?
Yes, I work in acrylics.
What are your favorite colors? Do you have any?
I really don't have any favorite colors. I feel that I could work with any color. I like all colors, and I'm wearing a blue shirt now, but usually my dress is all black. I think it neutralizes me from all the colors that I tend to use and all the paintings that I'm surrounded with. Sometimes you can walk into the gallery and you have all these colors and you just need something to subdue yourself, and that's I don't have any favorite colors.
Well, we have here a guy named Kenneth Keller. He's saying Neil Kerman is an amazingly creative person. His works are so vibrant, and that's a word I've heard many times used for your works. Thank you, Kenneth. I don't know where he's from.
Let me address that.
Sure.
I went to school with Kenneth in the 1960s. We graduated Midwood High School in 1965. It's good to see you, Kenneth. And perhaps Kenneth could attest to my daydreaming and my floundering. And we haven't seen each other in years, but have been in touch on Facebook. Thank you, Kenneth. Good hearing from you.
Now you know he's totally into this. It's great. So let's talk about nature, because so many of your paintings deal with the weather, with mountains, with volcanoes, with space. Tell us what nature, plays a role, how nature plays a role in your art.
It all depends. Let's talk about two parts of the nature. You have nature on the ground, and then you have the nature that was created in the skies and in the heavens. So the sun and the clouds and the blue skies, they evolve one emotion and reaction for me, where the nighttime, if I'm painting at night, the moon and the darkness evolves something else. Oceans and the water, you have your blues, you have your waves, it's more exciting. And as it comes onto the shore of the sand, you have a tremendous calmness. And I would guess that's how nature plays its course with me.
It does.
It's very interesting.
They have several large underwater sea paintings. Some of them have little fish in them, and some of them you build up like a sculpture in the actual painting. How do you do that?
Sometimes when you get bored and you're looking at a painting and everybody says, leave it alone, and I go there at nighttime, I'll say, no, let me see what I could do. And I have a tremendous fish painting. I think it's 5 or 6 feet long, and it started with this little fish I found in South Dakota, and I created this whole thing, and suddenly I was building mountains and valleys and waterways, and I think that was the longest painting that ever took. I just had to put it aside and come back to it.
Well, right behind me, you have some phenomenal paintings that literally look like wall hanging sculptures rather than just a painting. It's 3-4 dimensional. It's amazing. So tell us about some of the shows. We don't have any shows now, but as we're wrapping up, show us how you get another.
I just want to answer the question. This is Jay Weinberger. I haven't seen him in many years. He lived in my building. He was studying to be a doctor, and he used to come to eat breakfast with us. How has your art themes changed over the years? As you get older, I guess it's harder to see, so you're not 100% sure what you're painting. I think I've evolved tremendously as an artist. I think that I could see my own work, the depth of my work from when I started. And Jay is a doctor, so Jay, I'll ask you, how have you evolved as a doctor? Did you mess up with your first few patients? And but Jay, it's great to hear from you. I haven't seen Jay in years also. What was your question in wrapping up?
The wrapping up question is, I want to see some of the pictures of the show, especially your work is now in a big museum in South Korea. I think even 2 museums. You're also in a museum in Torino, and you had a tremendous show at Scope in Miami Beach. So I'm wondering if you could show us some of those pictures.
Okay.
There you go. That's South Korea, I believe.
This one is, I believe it's in South Korea. I think you have another one to give a closer of the background. Let's keep going for a minute. Okay, this is in South Korea. Louis and Alcinda from Sophia Ventura asked me if I could create small miniature paintings, each one in 2s, and to make an entire art wall out of it. And this was sent to South Korea. Very pleased with that. I like it. This is in Torino, Italy. And we took canvases and we made sculptures out of it. And people or consumers were buying just regular art pieces, and we were shaping it in different directions for them, as well as my art pieces on the side.
The canvas in the middle that's right behind you right now. What is
right,
that?
So I'm close to 6 feet, so that must be 13 feet long. And it's, we just wrapped it in, people took it, someone bought it, and we wrapped it in an individual shape that they wanted, and they kept it sitting on the floor.
Wow, but that could be literally hung on the wall or over a window or something like that. Your art.
It is hanging on the wall. It's a good blackout shade, I guess, if you need it. But that was also very successful. And I sent that canvas to Torino, Italy, and it was Alcinda, who's an amazing choreographer, I guess that's the correct word, who put this together and decided to hang it that way.
There she is. Great. No, it's a beautiful work of art. Is that Scope in Miami? Which one is that?
Right. This is Scope in Miami. And as you see, I created a table. They asked me to make a table, and that was a nightmare to paint because I had to paint all different sides standing up. It was complicated with my sticks behind it, and we were very fortunate the table sold as well as many of the sticks. But as you see, sticks can be arranged in many different ways on a wall, and it just makes a nice conversation piece.
I've actually seen some of your sticks not only hang horizontally over beds in a bedroom, but I've seen them just thrown into a corner, like 3-4 of them or even more. Just literally as a, look at that. Wow. That's true.
Yeah, this is a woman in New York, outside of New York, who asked for 5 sticks. The top stick, they sent me the colors of her room and what colors they would want, and then they asked me to incorporate them into the other sticks, and they created how they would like to hang them. This is an unbelievable, magnificent house with a convertible Bentley sitting in front. So that was nice.
Plain, pleasant houses that just have grayish, and then all of a sudden your art comes and just opens it up to a world of color. It's amazing. It's great speaking to you. I mean, you're an artist. You're also kind of a.
I think you just have one more picture. Is the London picture with us, Alcinda? If you have that for 1 second.
Weren't you on the front page of the London Times at one time?
We were on the front. No, the page for the London Times. I believe you have a picture of it. And I walked in the morning, and everyone said, "Did you see it? Did you see it?" And that's the actual exhibition on the right. And that's the picture that presented in the New York Times and the London Times. That's me and Alcinda on the right. And one very fast story, a model walked in, she fell in love with the stick on the left and she bought it. She came back the next day for the stick on the right. And she said, "You know, I love looking at your pictures more than my boyfriend." So I threw him out and I came back for the second picture.
Well, your art displaced the guy. Hope she has another guy at this point. More art. Well, it's been great speaking to you. Here's Jay Weinberger. You want to answer his question?
Oh, he just said he never made any mistakes.
Yeah, you
Good
want
to you,
to know that doctor. He's perfect. Oh, here's another guy, Jose Cartaxo, if that's how you pronounce it. Okay, two happy
guys in an amazing chat, even with such strong themes. Pandemia and Alzheimer's. Thank you. You're very welcome, Jose. Thank you for watching. I don't know if our time is up, but I have no problem staying on. But Jose, thank you for listening.
Any other questions from anybody?
Suri Schwartz, I was lucky to visit Neil's gallery in Brooklyn, and I was amazed by his work. Well, Suri, you're welcome to come back anytime, and anyone else. It's the Neil Kerman Gallery in Brooklyn, New York. Thank you, Suri.
Chris, and tell us. Here's another.
Winter. Neil is incredibly artistic. His creativity is mind-blowing and awe-inspiring. Thank you. I believe I met him in a show in Israel.
Beautiful, beautiful. Here's another one.
Chris, wow, great live stream. Thank you very much, Chris. Thank you, the Sophia Ventura Gallery, and Aid for being such a dynamic host.
Thank you very much. But let me tell you something, audience. Just because there's a pandemic and there's COVID and there's Corona and there's misery out there doesn't mean we have to be miserable. Let's find that artistic talent inside. Let's be happy. Let's produce joy in the world through our art, through our personalities, through telling jokes, just for being with each other. And God knows we are really on top of each other's nerves all day long now. So let's just turn that into a good thing rather than a bad thing and enjoy each other aside from everything else. See you, Neil.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening and stay safe. Thank you, Abe.
God bless. Stay on.
Okay.